Hey, it's Callan from Authentic Lifestyle Design, and today I want to talk to you about something called the relationship cycle. Now, this isn't something I invented. The credit to this actually goes to a guy named James Marshall with a thing called the Natural Lifestyles. You can look them up on YouTube if you want. They make some fantastic content. I can attest to it. I do like their videos. Now, the relationship cycle is something I recommend you learn, and something that's going to have a profound impact on your life if you actually can follow it. So as you can see, because at the moment New South Wales, the whole state's in lockdown, so we can go out basically for food, for exercise, or like basically essentials. So I'm out here, nowhere near anyone, kilometers from anybody, and essentially I brought my bike. So I rode out here and I'm just having a rest, and I thought, why have a rest? I'm going to make a video. So the relationship cycle is something that you can get a profound benefit from, as well as being in nature. I mean, look at this behind me. It's expansive, it's awesome. And I'm going behind a tree to block out that sun. That way you can see my face. So the relationship cycle is a cycle to go through in relationships. Now this is for men because this channel primarily I'm targeting men, and I think women can probably do the same cycle, but I'm talking about it for men for the instance of this video. Now, generally guys, they're brainwashed by Hollywood. They're brainwashed by usually nerds writing the scripts to these romance movies that usually aren't that good with women. And they're doing that just because they don't know better. So most guys go like this. Most guys go from what you'd call inactive single, meaning they're single, they're not dating anybody, maybe they want a girlfriend, maybe they don't. So they're inactive single. The next level after that people normally move into is they go into a monogamous exclusive relationship. So either they're single or they're in this monogamous exclusive relationship. And that relationship usually happens by just chance. Maybe there's a girl in your social group or you meet the right one on Tinder or something like that. It's usually very organic the way that happens. So that's most guys. They're not seeing anyone, then they get into a relationship, then for whatever reason that relationship breaks off, they're not seeing anyone, they get in a relationship, continue. That's the default cycle. So during those phases of not seeing anyone, the guys aren't, they're not in a relationship. And if they don't want to be, if they're MGTOW or if they're whatever else they want to be, that's totally fine. If they want to work on themselves or go celibate or whatever, go for it. But if they don't and they're in that place, it's going to be painful because they're going to want a woman in their life. So I recommend, instead of following that formula and investing all your time in the first woman you see to try and get into a relationship with her, you follow this 6-step relationship cycle. It comes from a lot more power. So I'll walk through them. There's 6 different stages in this relationship cycle. The first one is pretty similar to inactive single. So the first stage is you're a guy, you're not seeing anybody, either because you don't want to see anybody or because you just haven't had the chance to meet someone. And that's the first stage, that's inactive single, right? From here you might get the idea that you want to start dating. And that's essentially phase 1. Phase 2 is you start dating, right? In this cycle, which again I think is more better than what the mainstream tells you to do. This model, you start dating, right? And typically, especially if you've never dated before, it's going to be hard. You're going to get rejected. You're going to have to be comfortable with getting rejected, and you're going to have to grow like that. And you'll be in this period of dating. So you'll be meeting women, and you'll be dating them, and you'll basically be seeing who you vibe with, seeing who you don't. Now, an important part of this phase is, like I've said before in other videos, don't just date within your social circle. I actually avoid dating in my social circle. And I'm saying all this when I'm out in the country for a year. So I'm basically having a year of celibacy. I'm at that first stage at the moment, right? And then, you move into the second phase where you're dating, where you're seeing women and such. You're going to go on some bad dates, you're going to go on some good dates, and you're going to learn, right? Now, I don't recommend just waiting for women to come into your life. You can actually go and pursue women. So that could be online using something like Tinder, but if you're going to use Tinder, you actually have to learn how to use Tinder You actually have to learn strategies and stuff for the app to work for you, otherwise you're just not going to get the matches, or you're not going to get the quality of matches you probably want. Or you can go the other way, which is game, which is you can go and pick women up in real life. If you see someone that you think they're cute, go and tell them. Have the balls to go and tell someone that you like them and ask them out. That's kind of your job within the society, is to pursue and to ask the girl out. And that reverses, after a few dates. And if the girl's interested, then they'll be pursuing more. But you're in that mentality of dating. That's the second phase. And that can be hard, but you'll learn a lot from it. The third stage is, and again, different than what the media tells you, multiple lovers. So stage 3 is you're dating generally multiple women, and maybe you're sleeping with those women, right? And again, you're really exploring to see what you want. You're not just committing to the first girl you kind of like. You're actually exploring the field and figuring out what it is you want in a partner, what it is you'll accept, what it is you won't accept, what kind of people you want to be around at that given time in your life. And this is the multiple lovers phase. And many people, they just stay here for their whole lives. They don't move out of this. But again, some people do. And at this phase, this is where you start to get a groove. You've been dating, you've started to figure out what works and what doesn't work, and you've got a couple of quality partners in your life. All right? And generally that's of a more sexual nature. So you've got a bunch of partners in your life that are quality people, that are great people, and that you're exploring, you're exploring the relationship dynamic with. That's phase 3. Now, if you stay in this phase for too long, you might become a bit of a player, and that might be what you want to do, or it might not. It depends. You'll figure it out when you're there. But you have to get there first, which, requires a lot of trials and effort to actually get to that phase. Then stage 4 is the breakdown. And you'd think this is a bad thing, right? Well, in a way, not really. It's just you get used to having multiple lovers. You get used to this kind of level, and then if you stay like that, you'll keep in this player mentality. And if you don't keep in that player mentality, all of a sudden you'll want something deeper. You want a deeper relationship with somebody. You'll get sick of, I guess, swimming in the shallow end of the pool, and you want to find something a little more deeper and a little more intimate than that. And you have to build into that next phase. That's the fourth one. That's the breakdown. That's where all of a sudden this, it was a massive high when you first did it, having multiple lovers and all this abundance of beautiful people in your life. But over time, that'll become normal. You'll get used to it. Then you'll have this breakdown and be like, well, do I want to move on to something more serious now? So that's phase 4, that acknowledgement and working through that process. Then phase 5 is, well, quote unquote, the one. You find someone that you click with really well. And again, you're coming from abundance because you have multiple lovers. You've got multiple women in your life. But all of a sudden you meet one, and well, what Corey Wayne probably says, I agree with, you meet maybe 1 to 3 a decade women like this that you just really vibe with. And that's 1 to 3 a decade if you're actually trying. It's unlikely they're just going to fall into your lap. Maybe 1 in a lifetime if you're lucky, if you're not actually going to pursue women. And then, you'll have this deep thing. And all of a sudden that relationship will become far more important to you and far more significant than the relationships with any other women. So you want to commit more time to that one girl. And this could be either going into a committed monogamous relationship. It could be going into an open relationship. It could just be simply spending more time with that girl, but you're gonna start to fall in love essentially. And not on the shallow level of scarcity where, oh, she likes me, right? No, because you've got multiple lovers. You've got probably a year of experience or however long you've been doing the cycle for. And you're coming from a place of pure abundance of, I have so much and I'm willing to commit time to this one person, this one beautiful person that I really like and that really likes me. And she makes it really easy and I make it really easy, and we just click in this magical way. And you don't find many of those. Don't brainwash yourself or trick yourself into thinking you found it if you haven't found it. Because again, if you're coming from scarcity, you might think you found it when you probably haven't. So that's that stage. That's the one. And that could be the end. You could fall into a monogamous relationship until you die, right? It could be a lifetime beautiful romance. Or it might not. And if it doesn't, you go into stage 6, which is the breakup. So this is the one where that quote unquote the one either breaks up with you, or you break up with them, or you grow apart, or you get divorced, or whatever happens. And generally that'll be really painful because you've lost this integral part of who you are in that person because you've invested so much of yourself into them, and that can be really painful. And then generally, because maybe you had some lovers on the side, but they were probably just very casual because you were giving all your time to this one woman, you move back to phase 1, which is probably inactive single or dating, maybe phase 2. And you go around this thing again and again and again, and you could stop at any point, you know? So if you stop at inactive single, simple, women aren't going to be a thing. You stop at dating, well, that's when you're learning because, yeah, you'll move into that. Then either you'll move into a monogamous relationship, like you'll find the one, or you'll have multiple lovers and you'll be dating multiple women. And then generally that committed relationship will happen at some point if you meet the right person. If not, you'll just stay in like a player mentality, which will get empty. It doesn't get empty for everyone, but for most people it gets empty, especially after 6 months or a year or however long they're doing it. And then finally, generally that one girl you're with, you'll break up with unless you're really lucky and you stay together for a lifetime. And mind you, a lot of people that are married for decades and decades, they don't have that spark anymore. They're just staying together for the convenience of staying together. So, yeah, you got to look at it like that too. And then generally you'll keep going around this cycle throughout your life. And you'll stop somewhere, maybe for however long. There's no time limit for how long you're in any of these stages. But generally it's a sequence you can follow. You can be like, where am I? Where am I in my life? And that's an alternative to the inactive single, monogamous relationship, that thing. Which if you want to do that, go for it. But this one, it gives you a lot more abundance. It gives you a lot more experience. It gives you a lot more understanding. Like when you do settle down, you really know what you like at that point because you've gone and actually explored. Rather than just, again, oh, that girl likes me. Or I like that girl and entertaining that one thing. Which can work. It can work. It's just rare. And I think it worked a lot better maybe 50 years ago, 40 years ago than it does now. I think the world sort of changed a little bit, and if you don't change with it, you might get lucky and find that person. But even, like, notice the strategy I'm telling you of having these multiple lovers and dating multiple people, that really is going to get you there faster. Because you're going to figure out what you want within a couple of years of doing that. You're going to be really, really tight on what you want in a partner. And you're going to only settle for quality at that point because you've got, again, an abundance of women in your life. So you come from power. And then generally, if the breakup happens and you start at inactive single again at that bottom, that first stage, then the second time through is going to be different than the first time because you're not coming in with nothing. You're now coming in with an abundance of experience, and you're going to be able to move through that whole process much more smoothly the second time. So that's the main concept of this video. I'll give you an example of myself going through the cycle, but feel free to click off the video now if you just wanted the information, because now I'm going to talk about myself and my experience with this. So if you want to head, like, subscribe, comment, share, because I think it's a valuable alternative thing. You might like it, you might not, but either way, you're on this channel. So if you get what you want out of it. And yeah, apart from that, if you want to head off, enjoy the rest of your day. And if you're still here, I'll walk you through I've gone through this cycle once. So at the moment I'm an inactive single because I'm teaching out in the country. I wanted to come out here to get teaching experience, to buy a house, to kind of dodge the virus, all the rest of it, which doesn't really work because the whole state's in lockdown anyway. But I did dodge it for most of the year. Here's my story. So I started off at inactive single at maybe 20, right? And I'd read up a lot of theory on dating, but I hadn't actually done much of it. So at 20, I really started to explore it. And I started to get kind of into pickup and dating and all this, and downloaded Tinder and did the online stuff, but also approached a few people, not heaps, but a few people in real life, and went on dates like that. And I was having fun, but I wasn't getting that much success. I didn't know what I was doing. Then by about 21, I went over to Europe. And over in Europe, I started to see a lot more success, and that upped my confidence. So I wasn't looking for anything long term because I was traveling, but I started to sort of, get one night stands and to get all that stuff because I was getting a little bit more success than what I had. And I think that comes with being a foreigner. Generally, when you travel to another culture, like I know if you're Caucasian or you're white, when you go to Asia, you're generally a lot more popular, and You can look at where your race is deemed sexy, and if you go there, obviously you're going to see more success. And you as a foreigner are going to be more scarce, you're going to be more interesting. So, yeah, that's the main thing. I travelled Europe. I started to get a lot more success there. I started to get a lot more confidence and really figure out what I was doing. So at 21, I was in that dating phase and starting to see success. Then when I got back from Europe, I continued doing that here in Australia. And all of a sudden, I got to the point at 21 where I had 3 women I was seeing regularly. So I was in that multiple lovers phase. And I was there, and, some people would come and go. But there was women, I'd always have consistently, 2 or 3 women that I was dating on a more than just a one-night stand basis, right? Then, when I was 22, I was, just 22, I went over to Thailand, and for the first time in my life, after, being with multiple women and dating and having all this experience, I finally met that one girl that gave me that spark, that, whoa, this girl's not like the other ones. And in Thailand, I was doing the same thing, dating, having fun, exploring. But I met this one girl that really shone out. And then I invited her to Koh Phangan for the full moon party. We went there and just had an absolute blast of a time. And yeah, it was really deep. Like, we genuinely fell in love. It was deep and beautiful. And I loved it. And I literally, at that point in my life, I literally had a list of what I wanted in a partner. And she ticked everything on that list. And we wanted to keep it going. So when I came back here, we had a long distance relationship going that was kind of open and all that, but it was a long distance relationship nonetheless. But it wasn't a monogamous relationship. We just really enjoyed the connection we had together, and we were planning to see each other again. But then the virus came around, and we still talk to each other. That spark is still there, but neither of us can actually act on that spark because of the way the world is. Also, we have multiple... I forgot to talk about the stage. I forgot to talk about the breakdown. So after having all these multiple lovers and everything, I did have that, right? I had this phase where I'm like, oh, this is cool, but I'm really ready to find something deeper. And that's about the same time, a few months after that's when I met this girl. And it could have, if she was in Australia, it definitely would have gotten a lot more serious. Because I had to come back here, the virus was coming and all the rest of it, which was rough. And back here, I had the multiple lovers thing again, but it lost depth. It wasn't as significant because I'd met this girl where I had something so much deeper, and I was yearning to find somebody like that here where I could have that same connection. So I was in the multiple lovers thing, but it was with the purpose of actually finding somebody, which I didn't. I didn't find that. And then all the lockdowns started, and that really reduced the chance of anything happening. So now me and this girl, we still talk, right? But we have different directions in life, and eventually that relationship we have, it is going to fizzle out because either I'll meet someone or she'll meet someone, and yeah, we'll get more serious. And that's the way it is. That the one that I had isn't going to last forever. It's not going to be a till we die kind of thing. At least at this point, I don't think it is. And at the same time, what we have is beautiful, and we enjoy every moment, even though at the moment it's digitally, that we can spend together. But when I get back to civilization next year, that whole process starts again. So I start from Inactive Single, and I would again move through that cycle over however many years that happened, or maybe forever. Maybe I'll meet someone, maybe I'll go through all these stages, because I know I would, because I much prefer this than the alternative, and then I would meet someone and I'd spend my whole life with them. I don't know. I go with what feels good now, what feels content now. And if I'm with a partner, it's the same. Do I feel like we click? Does she feel like we click? Do we still have that connection we had? And if not, I'm mature enough to end it. And I'd hope my partner would also be mature enough to end it. So yeah, that's my story. That's my journey through the seduction cycle, whatever you want to call it. Alrighty. So, yeah, that comes from The Natural Lifestyles. It's a YouTube channel, which I quite like. They make some great videos. And they talk about lifestyle design as well, which is fantastic. If you gained value out of this video, give it a like, comment, share with your friends if you feel like they are trapped in that inactive single monogamous, or some people they're inactive single and they're dating and they just don't know how, then You know, Corey Wayne and the Natural Lifestyles are the two things on YouTube, at least, that I'd recommend looking at, because they're both quality. There's heaps of other stuff, but they're the two that jump out to me. They're, in my opinion, leagues above the competition. And besides that, enjoy the rest of your day. I'm going to continue my bike ride. Yeah, peace out.